I want to take you back in time, back before the days of rock and roll and LPs and 45s, back before the days of radio, back before the automobile. I'm talking back to the horse and buggy days. Yes, we're talking Amish country, and that's where we're going to look for rare gems in Shipshewana, Indiana. The speed limit here is 45, but these guys have got it dialed down way past 33 and a third, and just like on your record player, they got it going about 16. But this is miles per hour, and this is Amish country, and that's the way they roll. Shipshewana is about 2.5 hours east of Chicago, about a half hour south of Michigan, and probably 45 minutes west of Ohio. Now, fortunately, it's home to one of the biggest flea markets in the Midwest. The deal is, it's only open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I was never able to get 2.5 hours east of Chicago on a Tuesday or Wednesday until today. So as we pull into town and see all the Amish carts and buggies and horses and the clotheslines and the lack of technology, I'll tell you what, it's like a weird freakout. And here we are. You know, we got windmills, we've got barns, we've got farms, lots of Chevys, lots of Fords, but this is little old Shipshewana. But lo and behold, they have a kick-ass little venue. You see this great 60s lineup they got coming later this summer? That is at Shipshewana Blue Gate Theater, and that's where we're headed tonight after the flea market to see Charlie Crockett.
We're here.
One thing about
Shipshewana,
you're going to want to know, get there early. When you don't use electric lighting, things shut down, and it's a 5 o'clock hard shutdown at the thrift area. So we go in gate 1, and it's early in the season. But there's elk antlers, there's your typical Americana, your lawnscape, your landscape, your flamingos, a little bit of everything. I mean, you got antiques, you got home-baked goods, you've got sunglasses, you've got healing natural remedies. Typical Americana flea market. Here's a video guy. Of course, he didn't have any records. I'm looking hard. I'm seeing plants. I'm seeing just about everything, but it's really only about halfway open because it's so early in the season. And since we got a late start, I only got about a 45-minute window to find some vinyl, and it ain't looking good. Old sleds, old buggies. I don't need a horse and buggy. A bucket, a wooden bucket. Just tins and skis and brooms and bushels and pecks and birdseed, you know, everything under the sun. But I do not see any vinyl records, and I'm starting to panic a little bit. The wife's off looking for some apple butter or apple spread that my daughter wanted, and the booths are looking pretty much unmanned. So a lot of old rusted ox cart. I don't even know what this is. Something that goes to a plow or some type of, oh, there's an old rebel hat. You don't see those around that often. Here we go, man. I'm getting skunked, and I'm not liking it, and I'm on the clock. So I'm running out of daylight. The lights are literally going to go out on this flea market, and I'm nowhere near a 45 than I've ever been. And, it's seen on TV. I would just like to see a TV at this point. I don't think I've seen one. But lo and behold, there is a promising little hut over here that says music. The word music. Trader Bob's Music. Is she on a cell phone? I don't think that's allowed. Anyways, here we are. We found some LPs. It's a start. So I got in here and I started digging away. And sure enough, these are just sort of leftover, Wayne Newton, Barbra Streisand, here, but they musicals, Yakety Yak, Boots Randolph. Oh, geez. Herb Alpert, the Irish Ropers, the Mills Brothers. I've got it a million times over. Mitch Mitchell, whatever his name is. It's just junk. Just absolute junk. But the guy says, hey, I got some 45s.
I'll look through them.
So, okay, let's take a look at them.
That's about it?
Well, he's got some that are, everything's $5 a piece.
Geez, okay.
And I'm like, this is sort of junk too, But he goes, well, I got some more. I just got to dig them out. And I'm like, okay, why don't you start digging them out? And I'm thinking, at least, Surfer Joe, the Safaris, if I could at least get out of here.
And you guys
I hate coming home empty-handed. Okay, there's a bad company. Not too exciting. Here's the old flashback label. The guy's Bob Seger. I love Bob Seger, but I've got like 10 copies of that. Okay, Foreigner. Up for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's decent picture sleeve. YMCA, Key West, whatever. This is slim pickings. I've got almost every one of these. Okay, I can see a Stones there.
Wife,
so I never
got all the money.
I never say no to a Stones. So, okay. He goes, go over in the other room.
Is this the first
So I head
weekend
over
at
there,
Flea
Wild
Market?
Goose Chase.
Oh, okay.
This place is like ready to close. There's nobody in here. There's no records. That's Charlie over on the far wall.
How's
Charlie's
the business
not
over
there,
the winter?
and either are Charlie's records.
Yeah.
So this is just becoming
Anybody got any
sort of
records in here that you know
a
of?
boondoggle. Yeah, we got the show
I'll
tonight.
check
But
that
Charlie Crockett, by the way, if you guys haven't heard
thanks.
about him, apparently he played a show over there in London for my UK friends. Some small theater, 172 seat. Who was sitting in the first balcony? Jimmy Page. So that's who we're going to see tonight, Charlie Crockett. Check him out. He's like an American cowboy, but he's not like Nashville bubblegum country. He's like sort of Gulf and Western, I think he calls it. So there's a little New Orleans sound to it, a little trumpet in there, and he just sings a good song. He really tells a good story, and just believable. I mean, there's cool stuff in here. Don't get me wrong. You got mounted fish. You got old, like service station jumpers. A lot of oil can and automotive stuff. Old tools. I mean, this is the place to be if you collect this stuff. But this is where the records are supposed to be.
This place is so big, you need a map.
Shipshewana Flea Market map.
I'm
running out of time, so that's the bottom line.
Big.
But as I walk out of the building, the guy says cash only. I'm like, okay, I'll go get some cash. So the wife had brought some cash along. Like an idiot, I forgot to bring cash. All I had was my car. So I go back to the car. I go back in the flea market, and it's like 5 o'clock. And the Amish people are just literally going home right before my eyes. But this guy is sort of looks like he's a typical trader, sort of a flea market type guy. And he wants to make a sale, and especially right before the closing bell. So I'm back at the building. I'm going back in, and sure enough, he found some 45s. And he speaks my language. He says $1 a piece.
You said you had a monkey's one, too?
I'm going to take the time and go through these boxes that he's found and check them out.
What about those ones he said
sure
you were
enough,
gonna
he starts
try to dig
pulling
out,
stuff out, and this is what you got to do. You got to get these guys to dig for you. It's early in the season.
Really? Okay,
He had them tucked away all the way from last year, and you don't know. It could be another box full of Foreigner records, or it could be a box full of old stuff. So as he's going to pull this stuff out, I at least start to feign interest in buying some stuff. So here we go. I'm looking at stuff now. I got some stuff laid out for me, and he's got some merchandise he's going to let me go through. I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to walk out of here empty-handed after all. So there you go. I'm looking at the stuff that's $5 a piece that he first dragged out and sort of buying some time until he breaks out the $1 a piece box because I really have this stuff already. I don't need doubles of YMCA. I've got 10 copies of all this stuff. So this is like bubble gum, and I want to get into the real meat and potatoes. I want 50s soul. I want some northern soul. I want some jazz. I want some blues. And sometimes this is the stuff they drag out from behind the counter. So the stuff that's on display is the stuff they're trying to push, and it's usually overpriced. $5
That's cool.
for these. These are worth like $1 or $2 or $3 at most. And the condition, he said, I got a Ringo. So what? I got a million Ringos. The Stone, I'm interested in the Stones, but I've got all these records 10 times over. I want the good stuff. I want the meat and potatoes. I'm in Amish country. I came all the way out to Shipshewana for the first time in 30 years. I want to come home with the goods. So I'm taking time, I'm feigning interest, but I'm really looking for... Okay, here we go. He's got the boxes out, and I'm just telling right off the bat. I'm looking at like 50s and 60s era original sleeves. Some of them are birth sleeves, old Columbia, old Liberty, old MGM, fraternity records. There's some oddball stuff here. So I'm liking my chances. Okay, the condition's a little beat up, but I think out of these boxes, here's another box. So he's hit the mother load, and he ends up bringing about 6 of these boxes out that are pretty jammed packed. But I think I'm going to get out of here with 20 or 25 records. Now, about the cash. Turns out by the time I get back to the car, the wife's been spending the cash, and we only have $17 left. So I know in the back of my head, I'm looking at these records. I only got $17 worth of buying power. He doesn't take plastic. I don't think anybody in Shipshewana takes plastic. I think it's a cash-only society, or you're trading for bushels of apples and onions and peas and carrots. Look at that old Argo label right there. In Crowd by Ramsey Lewis. That's quite sure it's the live version. Joe Jackson has covered that on one of his live albums. And that's really how I sort of got into. I know everybody knows the song, but then I just picked up the LP recently, Ramsey Lewis, the In Crowd, and it's just such a live, spontaneous jam from some Washington, D.C. jazz club, probably late 50s, early 60s. You UK guys know that song better than pretty much anybody here in the U.S. Probably why Joe Jackson was a big enough fan of the song to cover it. But it's just a simple piano riff, great bass, great vocals. But look at MGM. That's the old MGM that Hank Williams Sr. was on. So I'm running out of time. I know we got 5 o'clock closing hour. I got a concert I got to get to, and we still haven't found the main venue. The wife's probably tapping her fingers wondering, where the hell is he? Once again, she's lost me in a record store. But in this case, the pressure is mounting for me to come out of here. I got to get an episode, right? So, and then I got to get. I've never been skunked, but I got to get out of here with something of value, where I feel that I got my money's worth, and I've entertained you guys at least to the point where you get to see what this is like. I mean, what do? I dive into these situations where I'm in the middle of nowhere. And time and money are constantly pinching down on me. There we go. And I'm trying to film it. I'm doing one-handed filming now. I didn't bring my harness in here, so I'm, down to one hand. These are packed in here, but like I said, these old original birth sleeves are getting me excited. Mercury on Mercury label with a Mercury birth sleeve. There's another old Mercury. A lot of jazz and country, and I'm sure I'm skipping and missing stuff here too, because going too fast kills you, in terms of really, really having the time to, analyze the thing. But I'm on a budget too, so what are you going to do? I'm doing the best I can. Parkway, got some Chubby Checker there, some puke green Warner Brothers. Look for Van Morrison on Warner Brothers. Those are sometimes very valuable. Look for Domino on Warner Brothers. There's some old Decca with the black and silver. Value those oddball labels. Always take a second look at those. We're not just bubble gum anymore. This is a nice little stack to look through, and I'm not doing it justice. Liberty with a Liberty birth sleeve. There's a Capital with a Capital sleeve. Okay. They might have been picked through. I'm not running across any Beatles or Rolling Stones. So you know, if there's no
Pretty good
Beatles or
shape.
Rolling Stones, what does that tell you? They sold probably more than anybody in the 60s, you know, even as far as the Stones, way well into the 70s. And if you're not finding one of them at all, a collector's probably gone through and pulled all the Beatles and all the Rolling Stones. But you know what they miss? And you guys from the UK are going to love this over here. They missed the blues and the soul, and they missed the Northern Soul. So you guys keep telling me that I'm not going to find any Northern Soul. I'm finding Northern Soul because no one over here knows what that is. Okay? It's a scene and it's a phenom over there, and I know you guys are passionate about it, and you guys have driven the prices through the roof on Northern Soul records. But I'll tell you what, nobody over here knows what it is until you start collecting somewhat seriously. And but I'm loving it. I'm going to be going back to RPM Records this weekend to do letter K because we left off with letter J last week. Those old Atlantic, when I see that labeled, my heart jumps because you're looking for Ray Charles, Led Zeppelin too. You know, here's the newer MCA, some Epic when they went to the orange label. Capitol, they went to that label for a while. I love the old swirl label on Capitol.
I'm afraid not.
But, you know, the bottom line is we're finding stuff. Kinks on Reprise, I always look for them. There's a purple Capitol label. Epic, that's the newer Epic label. Of course,
I'm
look
just
for
looking
Michael
at
Jackson
this table
on
so
that.
far.
And, you know, some of these are mismatched.
I couldn't
There's
find
a
anything in
mismatch
there.
on Motown with a non-Motown record.
Yeah, I looked over there, couldn't find
So
them.
there you go. There's an interesting one. What is that? That's Sun with Jerry Lee Lewis. I ended up buying this one. A lot of these are reissues though. So the original Sun with Elvis.
This
and
next
Jerry
room
Lee,
right over?
you know, those are very, very valuable records, but you don't see them. Another thing that tells me that this has been gone through before, there's no Elvis. And Elvis is probably on the decline right now in terms of collectability. But when you don't see an Elvis, you don't see a Beatles, and you don't see a Rolling Stones, except for that first one when I first walked in on the stack that was on the desk, you know they've probably been picked through. But the more astute collector is doing what I'm doing now. I'm looking for soul, jazz, and blues. Because let's not forget, those were made in lesser numbers. All right, once again, I'm speeding through these. I've got limited time. I've got limited money. I've got a wife who's waiting in a car and a show that's getting ready to start, and we haven't even found the parking for the venue yet. Plus, I'm dying for a cold beer.
All right, here you are with John.
I hate to tell him.
What booth number is this?
Booth B, I believe.
Booth B, right here. He does have 45s. He's got some cool old Hawaiian shirt there, some memorabilia, magic stuff. He's got some cool magic stuff. So he does magic shows. And get back here into this building B, did you say? What building number?
Booth B is
Booth.
like A through...
Well, this is the main auction barn.
This is the main auction barn, Booth B. There's a coin guy over here. You got musical instruments back here. So definitely you got to dig a little bit, but I found some cool 45s, so I'm happy with that. This is Detroit Bob, this is Rockmine, and we'll see you guys on another episode. All right, we found some 45s in Shipshewana. You got to love Argo. That's an old label. The Ramsey Lewis Trio with the in crowd. Check out Joe Jackson's live version of that. That's awesome. I got 22 45s for 17 bucks. And I sort of handpicked them. I got some Pink Floyd in there. I got some Scare Blues in there. I got some Queen in there. Some sleeves, some not sleeves. So I'm happy. I said, you can get chicken. You can get meat. You can get cheese. You can get dairy. You can get deli. You can get just about anything homemade out here. But it's hard to find vinyl. You can even get a fried pie.
Shipshewana, what a trip. These people came over here in the 1700s escaping religious persecution. So they just haven't changed. We're looking for the Blue Gate Performance area. And I think we finally found it, but man, am I dying for a beer.
Well, we tried to get a beer in Shipshewana, but apparently it's a dry county. So she sent us over here to, of all places, Detroit Street. So we're trying a place called Destination 814 in a town called LaGrange. So there we go. Ended up in LaGrange at Destination 814. Let's check this place out. Pretty cool merch in this place, and pretty cool decor. Shipshewana is where we're at. Charlie Crockett's the name of the game. So I'm loving this old Americana stuff like that. Don McLean. That's an old Indian right there. That ninja, but we always get some vinyl up here on the wall. That's pretty cool. Look at that. In the day, you would play your records on something that looked like that. How cool is that? Here it is, Charlie Crockett. If you haven't checked him out yet, check him out. He played, story has it, at a small theater in London, seating only about 175 people. Killed it, and just happened to be playing in front of Jimmy Page, who sat in the first balcony. Went backstage, was praised for his authentic sound, and there you go. Charlie Crockett meets Jimmy Page in London at a small gig.
Bring him over here to the magic and then, okay, look at this. You take the real what's in this butter, and it's special kind of butter, and she's going to take it and she's going to smack it all over those fully grown vegetables.
So here we go, we got an old, this is a Rockola jukebox. And you see the visible mechanism right there. It's an incredible piece of Americana. And that's what you played your records on back in 1947 right there. Look at the beauty of that thing.
Can't stand to see you breathe. Your cat ain't never playing in. The game I can't win. Baby, I love you more than you could know. I hate it when my pride don't let it show. God only knows why that woman's got my back. Just a woman in the bar, or so I thought from afar. You better be careful what you start with just a woman in a bar. The story I'm telling goes like this. I come in from the wilderness. She asked me to dance, I could see.
Hey, we're back from Shipshewana, and I got a great chance to see Charlie Crockett, one of my favorite artists. I got a chance to wear my cowboy shirt and picked up some 45s, so that's a big win. Another area that Rockmine had never been to before, and who knows, we may go back. But it was a great time, got some records. Let's see what we got in our stack of stuff, and I'll total it up, and we're gonna get a gem out of the week right out of this stack. All right, just a little rehash Shipshewana here. And sort of a potpourri. So one of these is going to be a gem of the week. Got some Jerry Butler, got some old Atlantic stuff, Jerry Lee Lewis, Gladys Knight, import Pamela, Jerry Butler again, Rhino Oddball, Isley Brothers, This Lady, modern jazz label, Pink Floyd, Brunswick, Pink Floyd, Stevie, Run DMC, and Bobby Lewis. So, one of those.
Okay, let's do a little speed round wrap-up. We had Rockin' Chair by Gwen McCrae. We had Rock You Baby by George McCrae. We had The In Crowd by Ramsey Lewis. And yeah, Lionel Hampton on Atlantic definitely picked that up. Jerry Butler just died. What a great singer. Here we go. The Chordettes Lollipop. And there's that Jerry Lee Lewis on Sun. And we had some Gladys Knight on an old import. Isley Brothers? No, Jerry Butler. This is an oddball label. Rhino Records picked it up. The Doors, I gotta love it, picked up a Doors. Isley Brothers, there they are, That Lady, Part 1, Part 2. Rolling Stones, Emotional Rescue. Look at this weird jazz blues label, picked it up. Pink Floyd, another Brick in the Wall. And yes, Queen, Body Language. Here we go, Pickwick. This was a $20 record. Got it for less than $1. Pink Floyd again. We got some Stevie Wonder there. And we got some Stevie Wonder here. All good. $17 is all I had. Run DMC. And here you go. This is a great Bobby Lewis tossing and turning. But this is the gem of the week. Putting You Out of My Life by Psychedelic Frankie on High Speed Records. And yes, it's a $2,000 record that I got for $1.59 a pound, which means this thing costs me about 13 cents. And there's the B-side right there, Donna. And there it is right there on Discogs, in case you doubt me, 2,000. There's one for sale for 7,000, and it only weighs 1.4 ounces. So my math says I paid 13 cents. This has been Detroit Bob for another episode of Rockmine. We had a blast. It was fast. It was furious. But then again, we slowed down to Amish time. And we did the time warp thing. So get out to Shipshewana, get out to your local flea markets, find some old jazz, blues records, some soul, some 45s, because that's where it's all happening. We'll see you next week, Friday on Rockmine. Make sure you subscribe.